Hey, how's everybody doing? Listen, welcome back to another episode of Truth Talk with Mr. JR. Let us go in prayer right quickly. Father, thank you for another opportunity to use this platform as a way to get some information out that would be beneficial and informational. Just I pray in Jesus' name. Listen, I want to deal with a subject I've been wanting to deal with for a while. It's old. In fact, the video that I want to deal with involves Condolezza Rice, who was on The View a couple of years ago. I must admit that I am late, but the way I look at it, it is never too late. First of all, let me just say this. I used to have a lot of respect for Condolezza Rice. As many of you all know, she has a PhD in political science from the University of Denver, a master's in political science from Notre Dame. Okay. But I must admit, after watching when she was on The View, I'm of the belief now that she is also a grifter, an accommodationist, a sycophant, and an apologist. If you doubt what I say, I want you to watch the video when you get an opportunity as well. But I'm going to give you some of what she said when she was on The View. I must admit, I was disappointed because I respected her. You know, she was in the George W. Bush administration, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor. That's a big deal. And I believe she was qualified for those positions. But I believe she was also appointed because of her views and her ideology, philosophy, and her conservative views. But let's get into it.
Hope not, because I'm not certain 7-year-olds need to learn it.
It just sounds crazy to me. So, but the question is, do parents need more influence here?
First of all, let me tell you what critical race theory is. And folks, let's just be clear. It's not being taught in K through 12. Let me say this. Critical race theory has been around for a while. A couple of years ago, it became the new boogeyman of the right. Because they didn't have any issues to run on, they said, well, let's just talk about critical race theory, try to get it taken out of schools. Also, let's get some books banned dealing with actual history. The fact of the matter is, critical race theory is not being taught in K through 12. Let's be clear, it's not being taught. Let me just give you a brief definition of what it actually is. Critical race theory, or CRT, is an interdisciplinary academic field focused on the relationship between social conceptions of race and ethnicity, social and political laws, media. CRT also considers racism to be systemic in various laws and rules and not based only on individual prejudices. Folks, critical race theory is a graduate course. It is taught in law school and grad schools. But the right would have you believe that it's being taught in K through 12, which is not true. Really what they want is they do not want actual history taught. 1619 Project. Anything dealing with slavery or Jim Crow, they don't want it taught because it makes them be guilty. Now what's interesting, they don't have a problem with the fact that we went through it, but they don't want their children to learn about it because they feel it makes them feel guilty. My question is, why would you feel guilty about something that happened years ago and you had absolutely nothing to do with it? It's important that we all learn the true ugly history of the United States so that we can learn from it and do better. But let's get into some of her comments.
Or should they leave the lesson planning to the pros?
Well, I was a teacher, and there is a curriculum that teachers follow, and it's studied by supposedly experts. I have a lot of education.
They're not even letting the teachers teach actual history. They're not teaching critical race theory. It is a graduate course. But the fact of the matter is, my brothers and sisters, and even my white allies, who I have respect for, like Tim Wise, it's not being taught, period.
Credits because you learn how to teach and you learn your subject. So you can't really pit that up against a parent who just is annoyed that you're teaching, To Kill a Mockingbird or whatever the curriculum says. You can't have the parents interfering to that extent in the curriculum. But it's nice to hear from them. But if they are adamant and they don't want you to teach what is going to be taught, period, they're going to have to homeschool their kids because
the teachers are not allowed to teach history. And I must admit, when I was in elementary school and high school, we really were not taught the true history of these United States. In fact, during Black History Month, we heard about a few individuals such as Dr. King, Frederick Douglass, Benjamin Banneker, Harriet Tubman. We didn't even learn about Malcolm X. That was the extent, pretty much, of my schooling on history. And I hate that we weren't taught it because that's a part of American history. African American history is American history.
as this is not going to wash.
True, very true.
Listen, it's very important, my brother said, that we do our own research and read. Do not go by just what you hear. Do your own research. Check the receipts.
Homeschooling them in increasing numbers. And I think that's a signal. First of all, parents ought to be involved in their children's
They should be involved.
Yes, they should.
education. Their children are in school 7 hours. That's a very formative period. And I think parents ought to have a say. We used to have parent-teacher conferences. We used to have PTA.
Parents ought to have a say. But parents, the only way you're going to have a say, you have to go to the parent-teacher conference. You have to go to the board, the school board meetings to see what's going on and what is being taught in your schools. If you don't, your children will be subject to whatever the board decides. It's a fact. You have to get involved.
There are lots of ways for parents to be involved, and they should be. But if I could take a moment to talk about the whole issue of critical race theory and what is not being taught. I come out of an academic institution, and this is something that academics
we know they
what is the role of race and so forth. And let me be very clear. I grew up in segregated Birmingham.
You grew up in segregated Alabama. In fact, Condolezza knew one of the young ladies who were killed in the Birmingham bombing. But why don't you act like it? You have an advantage on many people who do not grow up in the South during those turbulent times of Jim Crow. But you try to downplay it, act like it wasn't a big deal. We were impacted by Jim Crow, Condolezza, let's be real.
Alabama. I couldn't go to a movie theater or to a restaurant with my parents. I went to segregated schools till we moved to Denver. My parents never thought I was going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours.
Ooh-wee. That's somebody else's problem, not yours. Condolezza, it's all of our problems. It's one thing to tell your children to do the very best they can, but we have to tell them the truth. You're not going to be everything you want to be. I believe on some level the sky is the limit. You can achieve greatness, but there will be restrictions. Most African Americans will not be the president of the United States. Most African Americans will not be United States senators. We have to be honest. We can't even get a large percentage of African Americans to be head coaches in the NFL. While the NFL is comprised mostly of African American men. Come on, Condolezza.
We're going to overcome it, and you are going to be anything you want to be. And
now, there are some things that we can overcome. My brother said, let's be real and be honest. There are so many things that we have overcome. But we overcame it not because racism was not there, but in spite of it. We've achieved many great things, but we have not yet reached a post-racial society just because Barack Obama got 2 terms in the White House. There's still inequity across the board. Check the receipts.
And that's the message that I think we ought to be sending to kids. One of the worries that I have about the way that we're talking.
Here we go. One of her worries. Here we go, Condolezza. 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 One of her worries. Here we go, Condolez
Either seems so big that somehow white people now have to feel guilty for everything that happened in the past.
Condolezza, no one ever expects white people to feel guilty about what happened in the past. But it actually happened. White people and their children need to know about the past so they can understand what's going on today. Because most of them do not know the history of these United States. They don't know about systemic and structural racism. They don't understand how we got to where we are today. You have a beginning, a middle, and an ending, or a present. We are where we are today because of what happened in the past. And if we don't deal with it or try to fix it, then we will still deal with inequity and racism in these United States.
I don't think that's very productive. Or black people have to feel disempowered by race.
Condolezza, we're not disempowered by race. We're impacted by race. I wish that was not the case. I wish everything was fair. I wish the playing field was level. And we were just on merit. That's another subject. But we do not live in a society yet that is fair and impartial. We have not yet reached that day that Dr. King talked about, where we are not judged by the color of our skin and the content of our character. We have not yet reached that day. Now, there have been some individuals that have reached success, but you have to go by the majority, not the exception.
I would like black kids to be completely empowered, to know that they are beautiful in their blackness.
Condolezza, we want black children to feel empowered. You know how that happens? When we fund our schools equally. When we give black children all the resources to achieve greatness. When black children start seeing positive African American images on television and in the movies. When we are not quick to suspend black children. When we don't police black people's or black children's hair. That's how we make progress.
But in order to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white.
Here we go again. Condolezza, it's not about making white children feel bad. It's clear that you're more concerned about the white children than the black children. And I understand that's a grift move. That's an accommodation move. You don't want to put no ripples in the water. But it's okay that African Americans have experienced racism and discrimination, but you don't want white children and white people as a whole to learn about it because you're concerned about them being guilty. Come on, Condolezza. The history is ugly. None of us like it, but we need to learn from it if we're going to make some improvements.
So somehow this is a conversation that has gone in the wrong direction.
Repeat that last part, you don't have to watch.
Yeah, you know, there's a little bit of it in order for black kids.
Okay, Condolezza.
The way they were portrayed, the way their history was portrayed,
Right.
it was second-class citizenship.
Of course.
But I don't have to.
Absolutely, second-class citizenship. And Condolezza, in many ways, we're still considered second-class citizen across the board. Employment, housing, the prison industrial complex, education. See, what many on the right like to do, they like to throw up Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and our black athletes. That's not it. You have to look at the average citizens and see how they are doing to measure progress.
To make white children feel bad about being white in order to overcome the fact that black children were making
happen?
It happens.
Again, it's not about making white children feel bad. And what's crazy is a lot of white parents on the right have bought into this mess, into this madness. It's like they're not confident that their children can learn about what happened in the past, learn from it, and when they become adults, try to make a positive change for everybody. That should be the ultimate goal, Condolezza. Not to trivialize or minimize what happened. It's not about making anybody forget. But listen, I wanted to get on here and talk about CRT, critical race theory. But I wanted to also deal with what Condolezza said. My brothers and sisters, listen. When you get an opportunity, watch the full video on the View. I really want you to see what she said. And I must admit, again, I was disappointed. But listen, please subscribe to the channel, share and like, hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next video is dropped. But also, please check out the channel of my wife and I, Legacy by Red. I'm sure some videos on there will benefit you. I'm going to go ahead and end in prayer. Father, I thank you for an opportunity to present information that will be beneficial. And I pray as many have an opportunity to see it and would be blessed and informed. In Jesus' name. In the meantime, stay up and stay informed. God bless you.